if I told you that there was probably a thriving black market, maybe more than one, in the little town somewhere in the Midwest or in, Rust Belt or on the West Coast or wherever in the United States you happen to live? What if I told you that that's true? Do you realize that I'm almost certainly correct in what I'm saying to you? Besides the fact that there are human trafficking black markets pretty much all the way around the country, you can pretty much be assured that there are other sorts of black markets that people don't even think about and don't consider when they talk about the term. I want to talk today on the idea of why black markets on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Friday the 24th of December, Christmas Eve. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Thank you for coming along today. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. And again, we're going to discuss the subject of why black markets, and as usual, I'm going to go ahead very quickly and run through my notes. I doubt seriously there's a nation on the planet that doesn't have some sort of black market operation or other in place. I would be the last person to argue that black markets are always a good thing. After all, as I said initially, human trafficking markets in any country are bad, and they are inherently black markets. I'm not a fan of illicit drug marketplaces either. I think that there may be some more place for them than people would like to admit, but I think in general that they're a bad idea. Anyone who lived through the former Soviet Union is well aware there were black markets in that bloc that sold everything from blue jeans to electronics to, I would imagine, hard-to-come-by food items. But did you know there was, and maybe still is, a thriving black market in the Republic of Korea around just about every American military installation? It was sufficiently robust that on Osan Air Base, when I was there, if you wanted to shop in the commissary, the place where you buy your groceries and so forth, what you would term the grocery store if you're a civilian, you had a ration card and were limited in what you could buy there. So you might be able to buy 2 or 3 of this particular thing a month, and that was it. Believe it or not, oxtails and instant coffee, Taster's Choice, I know, were big sellers at that time on the Korean black market. You can bet places like North Korea, China, and India less so probably, but still, even so, have black markets selling who knows what. As I say, I would imagine you'd be hard put to find a country in the world that didn't have a black market of some kind. In fact, probably multiple in many instances. Most instances, I would argue. You have to ask yourself the obvious question. Why, in even societies with largely open markets, why in societies with largely open markets, do black markets still exist and thrive? It's also important to consider whether they're ever a good thing or if they should always be shut down when found. It can be easy to presume that all black market activity is bad. But is that reasonable? So today we're going to explore the concept of black markets, why they exist, and so forth. We're going to discuss why they exist, so there I go, talking out of turn. That may not be as simple as a thing as you might imagine. And while we're at it, we'll talk about how folks should respond to them, which again is not something you can have a one-size-fits-all view on in my way of looking at things. Are black markets good? Are they inherently bad? Let's take some time to talk about that. All right, we're done with the notes. Let's go ahead and get on with the discussion. So, the first thing that I want to say is that I don't care what society you are in. I know of no society anywhere in the world that has a completely open market. There's government regulation that occurs on the marketplace. And sometimes the reasons for the regulation are sort of understandable, but most of the time, quite frankly, they literally fringe on, if they're not directly in, the idiotic. That includes here in the United States. So you're going to have black markets for that reason, if none other, because what's going to happen is when somebody wants to buy, quote, raw milk, they're going to find somebody who's going to sell it to them, and they're going to do so, and that's lots of places illegal, right? When somebody wants unwashed or unprepared or whatever fruit and similar things that came from somebody's backyard, they're going to do the same. Sometimes that's going to be in a relatively loose thing that you really couldn't term a black market. It's just Joe Blow selling his apples from his backyard or his cherries from his cherry tree to friends and family, or giving them away, but you often selling them because there's work involved in that. Pecans are the same way, and various other things. There are those who will sell them in actual, real, what are considered legitimate markets, right? Even though in those markets they don't necessarily make a whole lot of money out of doing so. But on the other hand, lots of times things get shut down. Like I say, perfect example is raw milk, the sale of raw milk. And believe it or not, there are black market activities in things like raw milk or unprocessed honey. Okay, this happens. There are literally marketplaces for this that you will never see any mention of unless you just happen to the right people or the right places. Okay, so even in countries like the United States, where it's not that common a thing, and where most of the black markets are probably a bad thing, you will find black markets that, frankly, quite honestly, they're good. They're good things. Now, when you start to look at a lot of other countries, because the markets are so closed off in those countries, China is an excellent example. I imagine there is a thriving, rather huge amount of black market activity that occurs in China. And I say it again, if you look at what happened in the former Soviet Union, you'll understand what I'm saying. If you read stuff written by folks like Thomas Sowell, who went and did various kinds of investigative type activities in places like Russia to see what was happening there in the time of the former Soviet Union, any country in the Soviet bloc, right? It doesn't have to be Russia. Russia is just an example. But any country in the former Soviet bloc, you will find that there were black markets, and they were selling, again, things like blue jeans, because you couldn't get them in Russia or Ukraine or Romania or wherever it happened to be. You couldn't get them. They weren't available. And those markets continued to exist after a lot of those countries were let's just say that after the fall of the Soviet Union, where supposedly those countries became freer. Those things still continue to exist. My simple point is this: black markets do not just exist because of an exceptionally controlled economy. In a extremely controlled economy, where it's possible, they will spring up, they will exist. But they even exist in places like the United States and probably lots of Europe, where you just can't get things in any way other than on a black market. Now again, if you ask yourself, are black markets good or are they bad, the answer to that is some are good, some are bad, and in fact there are lots of markets where some of the activity is good and some of it is not good. And you need to take care of the fact that there's bad activity going on. But that doesn't mean in my mind that you strike down the black market. That's not what that means. What it means is you find people who are behaving in ways that are bad and causing people undue harm or whatever, and you take care of that. But frankly, if you're talking again about sex trafficking or other kinds of human trafficking, yeah, those black markets, in my opinion, are always bad. They just need to go away. Okay, if you're talking about illicit drugs, and particularly illicit drugs that are prone to kill people, yeah, I think generally those black markets need to go away. I think that there's a place for black markets in drugs that are going to be used for purposes that are not going to harm people. But I think that that's very uncommon in most Western countries that have relatively open markets. So that's kind of my take on things. My attitude about black markets is I certainly wouldn't say they're always bad. I definitely wouldn't say they're always good. I would say certain of them should go away. I would say others probably should continue to exist, and that the countries that find themselves having those black markets probably ought to allow them to continue. And that's kind of my take and my perspective on things. Okay, I'm running long here, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Friday, the 24th of December, Christmas Eve, as I say. Lots of places are taking the day off, obviously, and that's not a surprising thing. Tomorrow, then, will be Saturday, the 25th of December, Christmas Day. Hope you're having a good day today, and hope that you have a good Christmas as well. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a boxing glove or a Rumble on Rumble if you choose to do so. A plus if you want to give me positive feedback, say that I'm actually doing something reasonable or worthwhile. A minus if you've decided that what I'm doing is maybe not so great. And you could do that. I will not hold it against you. Not that I really have any good way to do that. But the point is I won't. I will actually try and find a way to make my content better. You can give me a thumbs up or a like on YouTube, or a thumbs down or a dislike on YouTube for that same purpose. If there's somewhere that I put my content and it's possible for you to comment, and particularly if I'm notified of it, I will do my best to pay attention to what you've said. And if I feel it appropriate, I'll respond. But anyway, I will do my best to consider what you're saying so that I do kind of hopefully get some good out of what you've had to say. The subject for today has been why black markets, and tomorrow we're going to talk on that lovely concept that a lot of people are way too sold on, the idea of consensus. We will get into why I say that tomorrow. Hope you're having a good day today, a good Christmas Eve. Hope your Christmas is good. Hope that you have a good new year coming on. I should put out a video before then where I'll probably wish you the best of New Year's, which I can do again today, obviously. And I hope, as always, that I will see you on, and yes, I will be doing one, a Christmas Day edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video is recorded on Friday, the 24th of December of 2021, Christmas Eve. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.